the quite hot race for mayor in New York City. Former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo is trying to position himself for a one-on-one battle against the Democratic Socialist Zoran Mamdani, who I'm sure you've heard lots about. Now, the incumbent mayor, the current mayor, Eric Adams, dropped out of the race over the weekend. So the question is whether the fourth person, Curtis Sliwa, will do the same. If it is a two-man race, guys, there's this recent new Siena New York Times poll that puts former Governor Cuomo within striking distance of Zoran Mamdani, but that the equation changes if it's a three-man race. So joining you guys now in the diner is Dr. Dan Cassino, professor of government and politics at Fairleigh Dickinson University.
Dr. Cassino, thanks for joining us here. So what's your take on this? If Curtis Sliwa, and it's a big if, right, decides to drop out of the race, doesn't mean those voters are necessarily going to drift to Cuomo, does it?
That's exactly right. So Sliwa has said he is under no circumstances dropping out. He went to the bitter end in 2021. We don't see any evidence that that's changing. What people tend to forget is that voting is a two-stage process. First, you have to decide whether or not you're going to vote, and then you have to decide who you're going to vote for. So when candidates drop out, it's not like all their voters say, well, okay, never mind, I'm going to vote for this other guy instead. Voters aren't that strategic. What actually happens, a lot of them say, well, then I'm not going to vote at all. The guy I wanted isn't in the race. I'm not going to vote. And Eric Adams, at this point, when he dropped out, he was getting 6 to 9% of the polls. A lot of those voters, they knew he wasn't going to win. They are not shifting over strategically. A lot of them just decided to drop out of the race, are probably going to drop an electorate completely. Or honestly, given that these candidates are still going on the ballot, they're going to keep on voting for them, even though they're not actually running.
Now, Cuomo has been trailing in the polls for months. We've got 5 weeks left before the election. Could a two-man race be the game changer, or is it still too steep a climb for anyone trying to go up against Zoran Mamdani?
Look, it's going to be really tough for anyone to catch up with Mamdani at this point. I mean, he's not at 50%, but this is at this point, a three-man race. Cuomo's negatives are so big. He is a well-known figure, and so it's going to be very hard for him to convince a lot of voters to put together the anti-Mamdani coalition. There just aren't that many Republicans and aren't that many independents, and the ones who do don't show up in these races. Remember, these are low-turnout elections.
So, Professor, as we all know, President Trump often likes to insert himself into local politics and local elections. Do we have a sense of who it is that President Trump wants to win? I mean, we know that he doesn't share the same politics with Mamdani, but would that somehow help him to have a Democratic Socialist as mayor to kind of act as a foil for the next few years?
So President Trump has weighed in on this race pretty strongly, and he's said in posts on his social media platform that if Mamdani were to win, he would start denying funding for New York City, saying, therefore, there's no reason to vote for Mamdani because he would basically do what happened in the 1970s to New York City and say, we're going to cut off federal funding. You guys bail yourselves out. And so, he has weighed in on this. I think he would probably prefer at this point Andrew Cuomo. And there has been talks. There's been a lot of behind-the-scenes talks about trying to get Eric Adams and Curtis Sliwa to drop out, perhaps by offering them jobs in the administration. We haven't actually seen that yet. Adams dropped out without any clear job what he was going to be doing next.
We've seen President Trump. We know he's been calling Mamdani erroneously a communist. He keeps repeating that. How much weight does that carry? Do you think New York voters are listening to what President Trump is saying about Mamdani?
I think New York voters are. If we're talking about upstate New York, sure. But New York City, the fact that Donald Trump is against you is probably a good thing. We also have to remember Donald Trump has called lots and lots of people communists to whom that label does not apply. So I'm not sure anyone's taking that too seriously.
Do you think there could be a very intense backlash, as a matter of fact, if Trump seems to be clearly gravitating towards Cuomo? There was a recent meeting of corporate leaders in New York where everyone's kind of sitting in the classic back room, seemingly trying to make a decision about this race. So we've actually seen Mamdani making a lot of hay of this. The fact that corporate leaders and President Trump are against him. You can know a man by his enemies is what Mamdani's saying. And if these people are against me, if the millionaires are against me, that means I must be on the side of the working class people.
So, Professor, is it your prediction that Curtis Sliwa will not drop out and that for the next few weeks this will go on as a three-man race? And, whatever happens. I mean, it's actually in politics, those weeks are actually a long time. It's not right around the corner. Anything could still happen.
anything could still happen. Curtis Sliwa there's nothing you can offer Sliwa that's going to be better than what he's got now, which is a platform. That's what he wants. This is a protest campaign and has been for a long time. He's got some issues. He's big on no-kill cat shelters that are actually really popular in New York City. And I think actually some of those Eric Adams voters, after I was driving out, are probably going to wind up voting for Sliwa instead. He's getting public funding. He's got everything he needs in order to stay in this race. People drop out because they know they're not going to win, or they drop out because they run out of money. Eric Adams was out of money. Curtis Sliwa is in no danger of that happening anytime soon.
Let's talk about if Mamdani is successful, he wins the race for mayor. What's the response do you see from corporate leaders in New York, those who are concerned about his agenda or his politics? Do they leave the city? Or do you think that's bluster at this point?
We see this a lot of times, especially here in New Jersey. People saying, "Oh, if that person gets elected, the tax will go up. I'm going to get out of here." Most times, people don't do it because these are very large buildings they own, and it's really tough to pick them up and move them over to Jersey City. So they're going to probably stick around, and they're going to be working with them. And honestly, they're going to fight on the city council. So the policies don't go through just because Mamdani wants them.
Dan Casino, good perspective for us here in the Sunrise Diner on this Tuesday morning. We appreciate you coming in for us.
Thanks for having me.